All right, everybody. Welcome to the Remodelers on the Rise show. If you're looking on the video form, ooh, look at that cool hat. Remodelers on the Rise, established 2008. I was noticing if you watch the video version, I noticed that Spencer kind of went from just kind of looking to kind of having a little smile on his face, and then I thought to myself, oh, people are looking at the video. We should look friendly. I've actually been working on that. Is that something that you've actually had to work on, Spencer?
It's funny you bring that up because last week we had a bunch of the team in and we were talking about getting in front of the camera. And I don't know, you and I have known each other long enough that you may have actually seen one of these. But it was 2010, it was the summer, and I did a series called Social Media Summer, and I did a short video, 90 of them in the summer. And they were all terrible, and I don't think I smiled in any of them. But I had rewatching them was painful, and so yes, I have had to work on that. You do have
Interesting.
to, yeah, watching the game tape is helpful.
Yeah, you talk about like active listening, even just as people are answering the questions. And I think for all remodelers who are listening to this, sometimes like I have a very just basic resting face. I think the only time people are talking about resting face, they know the other word that's used.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I have it. I have the one that looks that
that
way.
that
So
looks that
yeah,
way, yeah.
I just
And
look.
it's
I look
something,
mad.
yeah,
Yeah.
to instead you're like, why are you looking so mad? I'm not. I'm just looking. I don't know. So
Yeah.
as you're in front of prospects, as you're in front of clients, it may be something to work on. But I digress. It is the Remodelers on the Rise show. Spencer has been a multi-time guest here on the podcast. What did Bailey say? Episode, what was it? Did you pay attention when she said that?
256 or 7?
256 episodes of this here podcast, and I know Spencer, you've got even more than me because you have multiple podcasts.
Yeah, I don't know what we're at.
Yeah, and we're not gonna
Yeah.
we're not gonna count those 90 you did during the summer because you look like a hostage negotiator.
Yeah, that was cheap. So yeah.
Okay, good. So, what we're going to talk about today, there's four things we're going to talk about. I'll tell you what the four things are here in a second. But what Spencer and I are both seeing as we're working with remodelers here in late summer 2023 into fall 2023 is all of a sudden marketing is becoming more of a priority. If you were in the stock market of some priorities for remodelers, you'd be buying marketing right now because marketing is becoming more and more of a priority. Is the sky falling? I haven't heard that. Are leads tightening up a little bit? Yeah. Are sales a little harder to come by and get people across the signed contract? Yes. I'm seeing that. And as marketing is kind of higher on the priority list, Spencer and I thought let's talk a little bit in particular about online marketing and give the people some of what they need to be thinking about and considering these days. I will add this as well. I see your website as kind of the central hub of your marketing efforts. Whether you're doing some networking with strategic partners and you've got your social media going, you've got your yard signs and your branding and some advertising going, the website, a lot of that will funnel to your website, and your website should be a lead generating machine, something that is generating consistent leads. So that's kind of the area we're going to talk about. The four things are: number one, these are Spencer's kind of topics: blogging with no purpose. Number two, not optimizing the remodeler's core website for their location. And we'll talk kind of unpack that. Number three, failing to convert website visitors who are in research mode and getting some know like and trust built with them. And number four, spending too little on paid ads, the Google side of things. So Spencer, people who don't know you, do a quick little introduction, and then let's jump into that first one that you're seeing a lot of major issues around blogging with no purpose.
Yeah. Um, Thanks for having me. I always enjoy chatting with you, Kyle. And if you'll allow me, I may even derail us before I get to the first question because it's
Sure.
important for you. But yeah, quick backstory. My family's been in construction for 110 years out in the Seattle market.
Wait, you just
I
you just made that number up.
just made it up. I think it's 112,
Is it really?
113, something
Wow.
like this at this point. Yeah, I just use 110 as a round number because I know it's at least that. I
Well,
like to at least be on the over side of whatever I'm throwing out there. So I didn't do any construction for any of that time. So I'm part of the fourth or fifth generation that didn't really take over the business, but I joined it on the marketing side and I said, hey, we got to figure out this blogging thing, this social media thing. It's new. Like, we got to get your website found. Worked on the website a ton. Um, so we took the remodeling division from 2 million to 10 million over 4 years, and said, hey, I think we should help some more people do this. Like, we're onto
Mm.
something. I think there's a gap here in the market, and really built an agency around that. And so, been at it a little over 13 years now, and yeah, we just wrapped up our focus week with the team, and I think we had 24, 25 people out here, and it was I don't know, it was fun. It was a period of reflection for me too, just thinking back to yeah, the days of those 90 videos that I
Yeah.
did that were so terrible, and it was just me. So
Yeah, and then
um,
that number of team members is incredible, and just that kind of shows your guys' reach and who you're serving.
yeah, yeah, just yeah, different time. Anyway, a lot of
Oh, but
reflection.
enough about you. You said you had a
Yeah,
question for me. Let's
I
me. I
do,
love
I
this. I
do.
love a
I've been
guest who makes
excited.
this about me.
Yeah, let's flip it around.
Uh-oh.
You kind of teed us up here talking about marketing, investing a little bit more in marketing. But I'm just curious, when you talk to your community and your world of remodelers, a lot of times I'm sure you talk about goals. What are the types of growth goals that people typically have in terms of top line?
Mm.
Um, is it aggressive, moderate, little? They just want to optimize where they are. Like, what would you say you run into
Mm.
most of the time?
When I run into aggressive, which would probably be the least amount that I hear of, I'm usually hearing somebody that is just pie in the sky with not a lot of numbers and kind of years of wisdom behind it. Just like, we're just going to grow, 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 grow. And my first question is always, why do you want to grow? So that the aggressive one, it pops up every so often, but I would say there's definitely some folks out there that are like, I'm ready to take this thing to the next level, some moderate look. Like, yeah, I've gone from 1 million to 1.5. I'm ready to bump this sucker up. And
Hmm.
I think over the last year, or especially over the last year, I'm hearing a lot of my Ronic clients who've gone through a lot of growth want to kind of settle it down a bit, keep a pretty similar number, but be much more profitable within that number. I'm hearing
Hmm.
just a lot of desire for that these days.
Yeah, yeah. Part of the reason I ask is for years I always asked that same question, and a lot of times the magic number was like they wanted to double. And it wasn't always like double in a year, but sometimes double in a year, 2 or 3 years. But that was kind of the range, right? If you're at two, they want to get to four. If they're at three,
Hmm.
they want to go to six. 1 to 2. It was always like around that double. But I always find it interesting because we had that opportunity the last couple of years, and then everyone was just like screaming in pain for other reasons, right? It
Mm.
was I can't find the team, I can't find that, like my systems are breaking and all of these types of things. And so I think I just wanted to bring that up because I find it fascinating that usually it's like I want to double or I want to grow, and you think about the sales part, which is the first part. Like, we need marketing, we need sales, that has to happen. But then if you don't have the delivery, you don't have the plan for what happens next, it's really tough to hit it, even if you
Yeah.
have the marketing and sales opportunity right in front of you.
This
So
need to kind of be growing each of these core, I call them kind of core pillars of your business, kind of needing to grow all of them, in unison to kind of keep up with it. Yeah.
yeah,
And then business is very frustrating sometimes where it's a little bit of whack-a-mole. Oh man, we're getting things going on the marketing and sales side, things are flowing, and then you look over here and you're like, what about this? So
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
hear you.
But I do like marketing because it can solve the lack of leads problem. But then to your last point of like, hey, we grew a lot the last couple of years, and now we kind of want to optimize. Like, the more lead flow you have, the more picky you can be, and you can pick those higher margin projects, and you can say no to the one that
Mm.
you're, I don't know about this one. Like, it gives you the confidence to say no versus if your pipeline's a little slim, you're just tempted. You just, yeah, we got to
Right.
take it.
Right. Even though it's not ideal.
Yeah. But to your question, blogging.
Number one, yeah. Blogging with no purpose. So you kind of queued this up of going, I'm just seeing a lot of remodelers lately or having some issues around these four areas. One, blogging with no purpose on their website. Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
I think at this stage of the game, we've hit. It's pretty commonplace for a lot of remodelers to have a blog or have tried a blog or have at least posted a few. Um, I would say 10 years ago it was not common. People are like,
Hmm.
what's a blog? Why would I do that? That seems stupid or a waste of time or whatever it is. And now it feels like it's become one of these check boxes. So it's like, oh, gotta have a blog. But then it's like, well, let's remember why we started the blog and what the purpose is.
Yeah.
And
Let's
so,
unpack those two things a little bit.
yeah.
What is that?
So in my mind, the blog has a couple of really powerful elements to it. One is just your ability to rank for something and draw your perfect ideal clients in. Um, and we'll unpack that a little bit further, but that's one. And then the other one is to build trust and credibility and expertise. And so depending on the blog you're writing, you might skew towards one or the other. But I would say generally, if you don't have a lot of blog content, we want to work on number one, which is how can we use this as a tool to bring in our clients.
So would you say for when you think of the word blog, it does feel like it feels a little dated at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we're really talking about is another way maybe saying it is, content that you're putting on your website that we can then optimize around the keywords and locations and services that you're wanting to be ranked in so that you generate more quality leads. That all of a sudden now some remodelers listening going, oh,
Sounds
that sounds a
exciting.
little different than blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
And I think, yeah, go ahead.
even my wife the other day, I said, yeah, I was working on something related to the blog, and she goes, you still have a blog? Isn't that like 2010? That was interesting comment by her.
That is interesting. And I would say back to that, just like do a few Google searches around any topic. And chances are somewhere in the top five, there's a few of them are blog posts. And you
Hmm.
just don't even realize it. You just think of it as an article, a blog, call it whatever you want. We're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, but back to like how we can use that as a tool, we want to think about who we're targeting and then where. And so a lot of us are local businesses. So I'm in Colorado Springs, so I could write a blog on, how much does it cost to do a kitchen remodel in Colorado Springs? Or I could even go more narrow, and we've got an area called the Broadmoor, which is a high-end neighborhood. And I could say, what does the average kitchen remodel cost in the Broadmoor?
Hmm.
And now I've like, okay, now I'm targeting the exact who, not just my city or my town, but one neighborhood. And then I could think about some other questions and topics that are relevant to people that live there and the people I serve there. And so back to your original question, I see a lot of blogs that are just, I would call generic or kind of just fluff pieces where it's like, hey, it's three kitchen design trends. But like, that's the article title. Three
Hmm.
kitchen design trends? Like, is that for this year, for last year? Is that for a certain area? Is that for a certain style
Is that
home? Is
what
that
people
for
are
like,
searching?
yeah, exactly. And so, I think there's a couple components when you think about like what is my title of my blog article. One, it should be localized when and if possible because you don't really want to draw in a bunch of traffic from all over the country if you're a local company.
Hmm.
You just want local people searching and finding that article and then even more ideal, you want them local and in the desired neighborhoods that you want to be in. But they should be compelling, you know. So like three uncommon kitchen design themes or something. We could shoot it and go, huh? Oh, that's interesting. I might click on that if that was posted to Facebook or a social platform that I'm browsing. Um, but then the other piece is once they click on it, it should actually build some trust and credibility. It should actually add some real value. So it shouldn't just kind of list the three things and a couple of sentences about each and kind of just be like, here they are, here's the
Hmm.
three things. And so we want it to be a trust builder and we want it to build up your company as that trusted advisor and show your expertise.
So when you think of blogging or content creation for your website to generate leads for remodelers, where do you put that in the overall priority list? Here in 2023, do you still see it as a really key aspect of them being able to rank highly in the search engines and also to generate quality leads from it?
It's up there. Yeah. If you've optimized the core pages on your site, so I think about like homepage, kitchen services page, bathroom services, like all of those individual service pages, and then you'd have your process page, you'd have project spotlight pages. Like those are your core pages. But once you've kind of built those, other than project spotlight pages, it's not like you're thinking of new services every month. Like, oh, we got to add a new services page. Like, no,
Yeah.
we kind of got the ones that we have. Um, Blogging fills that gap for all those other phrases and keywords and things that you may want to rank and target for.
Hmm.
So,
So part of what I'm hearing here is that, we're wasting time if there's not solid strategy around this topic.
yeah, and that's a huge topic in and of itself. But I would say like local, the types of services that you provide, it should be related to those. And then who are we trying to attract, and does that topic speak to them? Does it build expertise with them? And is it something that they're typing in to Google? And so then we have a chance to pull them in. FAQs are a great way to start there. Like questions you get in the sales process, localize them and address those in a blog.
Hit me with a couple of those just to get people thinking.
How much does it cost? How long does it take? What are all the different steps? Then you can talk about, I think you can get into like design styles and layouts or function as it pertains to family. Like a lot of your personas are probably similar, and they might have kids at similar age ranges, or they're at a certain age, and so you can speak to topics that have to do with like function and layout in their home as it pertains to that life stage. But a lot of people have the similar few questions, which is what
Yep.
does it cost? How long does it take? What are the steps? Do I need financing? How do I free up the money? Like,
yeah, remodelers listening to this, your ideal clients are searching those types of keywords. They just are. And the idea of yes, optimizing your main core pages, step one, but the second part of that of let's start to optimize and write some content and some blogs around these other things people are searching so that we show up in the rankings can be a big lead generator and moneymaker for you.
Yeah, and to put some numbers to it, I mean, we have some blogs like individual posts that generate hundreds. Some of the top ones are in the thousands, but generally like mid hundreds of visitors per month, just one post. You think about your whole website. Sometimes people are happy to get that to 500 or 600 visits a month. You can have one post getting that much
Love it.
if you're hitting the right topic.
Love it. And that's another thing, just a little takeaway. If you don't know how many hits and visitors that your website is receiving each month, dust that off. Whoever's helping you with the website, or if you've set up Google Analytics, get in there and study that. What gets measured gets improved. And sometimes when we aren't really paying attention, we don't know if our website traffic's growing or not. And I remember you talking to the VIP Club about that in the training you did for us a couple weeks ago of, hey, here's a simple thing. Go look at how much traffic you were generating 12 months ago. Is it trending in a good direction, or is it trending in a bad direction? So two other quick things related to blogging, or also something else. One, is there another quick nugget you want to share on blogging before we go on to number two? And then number two, my lips were feeling a little chapped. I had a little something spicy for lunch, and I was thinking to myself, I've got the Burt's Bees, which I don't know why anybody would ever do anything other than Burt's Bees.
Right.
And I didn't know, since you're a professional podcaster, is it professional to apply chapstick during an interview? Because some people are watching this via video.
I would say yes, because the rest of the interview needs to go well, and so you would want.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was also playing golf a few months ago, and one of the guys in the group, I didn't know him very well, but I was looking for my chapstick, and he goes, "I don't wear chapstick." I said, "Why don't you wear chapstick?" He goes, "Because when you start wearing chapstick, it makes you need it more and more. Big chapstick, you know how you have big pharma and this and that. Big chapstick, they know what they're doing. They're messing with a lot of people. I don't ever wear it. So for those of you, I wonder if that would be good for the podcast. We're talking about big chapstick here. If that's going to get algorithm help.
Ooh, that might really get this fun.
Ooh, you never know. You never know. So that was the second part. You answered my chapstick question. Anything else on the blog front before we move on to number two?
Yeah, just the secondary purpose is not every blog has to have a pure SEO driven purpose. They can be great nurturing tools or sales enablement tools. So let's say somebody is on your email list. They don't know that you just publish a blog. So you can email them and say, hey, you might have wondered about X. We just wrote a
Yeah.
detailed piece on that. And now you're nurturing them and building some trust. Same with the sales process. You do that first meeting and then you send the follow-up email and you hit the logistics, but then you say, hey, and we talked about X, Y, and Z. Here's 2 articles related to that that might help just level up the
Yeah.
education around that.
So all of a sudden it's sales follow up, it's additional marketing, it's social media content. So as
Yeah.
you're putting the effort into creating good, not lazy, but good content around these questions, yeah, there's a lot of repurposing that can happen. Very good. So number two is not optimizing their core website for their location. Talk to us about that. And before you do, one thing like that, people listening to this, one thing I'm realizing in coaching and in general is some of these things people have heard over time, and then all of a sudden you just hear it again fresh, and it reminds you of the importance of it. And I'm hoping even so far we've just fired up a few people to go to their Google Analytics, maybe to reach out to their website person, and start working on this. So
Yeah. Read
it's
the last
exciting.
couple of blogs that are on your site.
Yeah,
Yeah. See if they pass the test.
there
Yeah.
we go. Cool. So not optimizing their core website for their location.
Yeah. The whole point of the website is to generate leads and drive business. That, that's my take on it. You might say, yeah, there's other purposes to it, but really I would say that's the main purpose there. Um, And a big part of that is getting found by people doing local searches. They're either sitting physically in that location in the area doing a search, or they're somewhere else and then typing in the city name and doing a search. But it's a localized search. And so I go onto a lot of websites and you can look. You can look through the content on the website. You can look at the page titles, which we're on audio. This may be a little more challenging, but if you pull up your website and you look at the very top above the URL in your browser, you'll see what's called the page title. A lot of times it might just say home or about, or it might have your brand name. That is a great spot to have your location. Um, and then the last piece is like having where we work and areas module like across the website so that people know, hey, this company can help me or this company can't help me. I'm outside their service area. But listing all of those cities, neighborhoods, towns you do work in, localizing your website is going to help you show up locally. Makes a lot of sense, but it is a step that I would say it's easy step and it's a missed step.
You mentioned, hey, your website. The purpose of your website is not just to look pretty. It's not just for branding purposes, although both of those are fine. It's not just for somebody that was referred to you who types in your website directly. It's not for that prospect who just clicked on the link in your email and kind of checking it out. Yes, it is all of those things. I'm not, don't get me wrong. But what you're saying is top thing that it's for is to drive traffic and to generate leads. And I think everybody needs to hear that. So if you were to rank and rate, I should say, rate your website around that result, how's your website performing? That's a good question to ask. It reminds me, we have a mutual friend, Vicky Suter, and Vicky was on the Remodelers on the Rise 15th year birthday bash here
Oh,
recently.
cool.
Yeah. Someday you'll catch up with me.
Yeah, maybe 20th.
I guess I would have to retire for you to keep going, for you to catch up. We'll see. Maybe you'll never catch up with me. Maybe I'll still be doing this when I'm 92. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll see how this
Yeah,
plays out.
yeah, we'll see how it plays
Stay
out.
tuned.
But one thing Vicky was talking about is she was talking about one of her best topics that she coaches on around position agreements, and in particular, she was talking about, look, figure out what is most important to measure for that project manager and just train and check in and coach and meet related to that. There's 20 things that you could rate a project manager on, but there's 3 things: keeping that schedule on schedule, managing the relationship with all of the different parties, including the client, and making sure that project is profitable and the job cost. Manage those 3 things. The other stuff will take care of itself. I think you're kind of saying that on the website. Don't tell me how's your website? That's good. Based on what? You think it represents you okay, or based on its main purpose of driving traffic and generating leads?
100%. Yeah. And the easy KPIs on that, I mean, one is just leads, but 2, you could do meetings booked, or at least from your pre-qualification call, you can say like, how many of these did we feel were pursuing? And you call that like an SQL, a sales qualified lead.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, track it back to dollars. That's the most important one. But marketing generally can't control sales closing process. So you have to give marketing some things that they can control. And I would say that's raw leads and then even sales qualified leads because they can work on getting the right leads.
Yeah. So not optimizing the core web. So you talked about title tag, and you talked about kind of making sure your location is throughout on every single page. So not optimizing the core website. What are a couple other areas they could take a look at or work on related to that?
Yeah, you can definitely make sure that your like full address is in the footer on your contact page. I've been on some sites where I literally couldn't find an address.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's going to be really tough for Google to figure out where this company is if there's no address on there. And then I think a lot of the other local things start to move into the Google business profile, so the map and how you show up there. Because honestly, on the site, you want to have page titles, headers, content on the page, and then like an area module where it lists all of the areas you work in. But beyond that, it's going to be back to the blog content, so targeting locally with different topics and blogs, and then move over to the map profile where you can fill out the profile completely, and you'll have checked a lot of the right boxes. Then it's work on reviews and good reviews and those types.
I was in there a couple months ago with a client, and like you got to go on your Google business page, and let's just take a look at that under services, under location, and there were multiple cities that are like some of their core top 5 cities that they weren't listed under. The list of services are like, well, that's not our primary thing, and that is a valuable marketing real estate. So what Spencer said for number 2 of just optimizing your core website for location. There's some work and some takeaways there. And then also going into your local Google business page. And let's get that thing updated and dig into that. Sometimes the hardest part about that is finding the stinking login. Because, well, I had that old website person who set it up for us originally. Keep fighting to get the access to it. They might have to send you a postcard to verify your address. Do what you need to control that very valuable real estate, which is your local Google business page.
100% agree.
Okay.
It's a pain, but you got it.
Got it. Number 3, what's the third one there, Spencer?
Yes, this would be failing to convert, one of my favorite topics. I think it was helpful for me to understand that in most any market out there, 4% of buyers are what we call active buyers. So they're ready to start a sales conversation. Like not only are they in the market, but they are ready to start solving that problem.
4 out of 100.
4%. Yep. The other 96 are researchers. And so if you just start applying that framework and methodology to your website and your traffic, and you're going, okay, well, if I get 1,000 website visitors, there's only 4% of those that are what we would call active buyers. So that'd be what, 40? Is that right?
Yep.
Kyle? And so
I majored in finance in college.
Great. So what's the difference? What's the 96%?
Yeah, 960.
Yeah. So that's a big number of people that are hitting your website that aren't ready to do. But they're going to fall into that 4% later. We don't know if that's a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 4 years. We don't know the timeline, but we do know they're researching. And so that creates an opportunity for you to convert them and then start to build that relationship with them, where they might actually read those blogs and watch you on social media for a little while. Like the person that's just coming in right now, like they're looking for a different set of check boxes. They want to see good reviews. Do they work in the right area? And, provide the service that I want to get done. And then they're probably going to check a couple other things and then reach out to a company or two. Everybody has a contact us form. So it's not like it's confusing for those 4%.
Yeah.
It's the other 96% that's the opportunity.
So it's a big opportunity and a good example. We had a pretty big storm come through last week, and we actually didn't lose power this time, but my in-laws did, my sister-in-law did, and a lot of local folks. And my wife kind of looked at me like she does sometimes, and she's like, "Aren't you talking about a generator? Aren't you talking about a generator?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's on the list. It hasn't made its way up the list yet. And even that evening, I was clicking around to literally wonder what the price of that is. Oh, how about those standby generators? What's the cost of those standby generators? And I visited a few different websites, and if one of those websites would have had, see several examples of the exact cost and investment of a standby generator, I would have exchanged my name and email address for that. And
Mhm.
I am one of the 96 that isn't ready to rock on that yet. I mean, I'm one more glance from my wife away from that, but I'm not yet. But
That
that
could be
idea,
fun.
yeah, but that idea that if I had done that, and then all of a sudden I had a little drip of continued education, and then every so often I would see their name and email, there is a much stronger chance from a marketing standpoint that I'm going to remember them and that I'm going to reach out to them when I am ready. That's a perfect example of what you're talking about in the remodeling stuff.
And here's the even better part now is that if they did have that guide, it was like compare and contrast these three generators, and then you're like, oh, I have this size home or whatever the things are, and then you kind of figured it out, and then you got those drips. In 3 weeks, when you had a killer month, you might have just bought the generator and surprised your wife before you got that glance, right? So
Do you think she would like that more than a beautiful ring?
tough
Maybe.
call. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
if the neighbor,
My
if the
wife always
neighbors,
says we should just sell the ring. I'm like, no, we're not selling.
yeah, my wife doesn't say that. She doesn't say sell the ring. I actually bought her a nice ring.
Well, good job.
She was pleasantly surprised.
Boy.
Yeah, but I should have not done that, and I should have bought a general.
Yeah. You should ask her what she would
Yeah.
prefer.
Is this an either or question, or is this a and both question?
It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you were saying kind of a cost guide of sorts. How much does a kitchen remodel in Brighton, Michigan cost, and putting that behind a bit of an opt-in to try to start to collect more contact details and then have some drip campaigns that's a little bit of work, Spencer.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that a problem or?
I would say that some people get stalled out on that. And that's why I think this conversation of thinking a little big picture strategy of going logically, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Think of that, what Spencer said, 4%, 96%. And what can we do to have a simple follow up drip system? And can we set up an opt in on our website to start to siphon some of those folks into our world?
So I don't know if this will help, but I'll give it a shot. Sometimes fear is a bigger motivator, right?
Hmm.
This is what scares me is that if you have a website, let's just say you're getting 1,000 a month for your website, and you don't have a way, like a cost guide, a design guide, something of value that you just trade info for, it's not a contact us, it's more research. If you don't have something like that, you are pretty much guaranteeing those 960 people, wait, they're
Yeah.
coming, they're browsing around, they're leaving. They're coming, they're browsing around, they're leaving. You throw one of those on there, and you are now going to most likely double, but you may triple your total conversion that you're getting today in terms of form submissions on your website. And you just have to do this once. And then every month, you're just getting more and more lead flow every single month. But every day that goes by, those people have nothing to do other
Hmm.
than browse around and leave. They literally can't submit their info because
Yeah.
they're not ready to contact
Yeah.
you. They can't do it.
So the idea out of that 1,000, maybe there's 20 of them that opt into that. It's probably a fair number, right?
Yeah. And then you got 20, 40, 60, and a quarter's gone, and now you have 60 people. How many of them may be a buyer today
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
One or two.
Yeah. So that's smart. That's smart marketing. It's something that and Spencer, if you were to kind of say, here's kind of my favorite opt-in when you're looking at your clients and what's kind of converting and working there, what's the one that kind of jumps up for you?
Cost. 100%. Yeah. If there was a better one, I'd tell you, but we've been running this one for 6 years and we can't beat it. It's the highest performing one, so start there.
There you go. Excellent.
Don't overthink it.
Excellent. All right. So we got some takeaways on that. And then number 4, spending too little, excuse me, spending too little on, see, I put chapstick on. Maybe it messed up my throat. And
Oh man, you
maybe
need some water
I do have some water.
or a coffee. Oh, look at that, Brandon. That is well done.
It is nice. And not only that, it's actual Yeti. Oh, yeah, Yeti. Okay, I think we're ready. Hit us with number 4. Give us the punchline there.
Yeah, so paid ads. So we're talking Google ads and Meta, so Facebook, Instagram, but you're paying for clicks to get to your website. So for us, for a long time, this was kind of the supplement. We always wanted to drive as much as we could through organic. Because if you're getting found and Google thinks you're the best result and people click, you don't pay for every click. So it's very much an investing mentality where you write 12 blogs this year, 12 blogs next year, 12 the next year. Now you have blogs from 3 years ago that are getting traffic. You're not paying for that traffic. Then year 2, year 3, and so it starts to compound. But we saw a need. Hey, if we need to drive some quicker wins, like you can just throw some money into Google and start driving clicks right to your website. So it's a faster way to drive it, but a more expensive on a per click or per lead basis, typically. So we always just use that as the supplement. But over the last, 9, 12 months, people have been feeling the slowdown, and that's general demand, right? Demand has dropped, so everybody's feeling a slowdown in leads. And so you have to be a little more competitive. And so, okay, let's turn to some paid channels and get a little more aggressive there. Because of that, one of the models I like is, hey, here at Builder Funnel, we don't know everything. We've learned a lot in this space, in our corner of this world that we spend a lot of time in, but we don't know everything, and we can always get better. And so we went out and we hired somebody that's a expert in Google Ads, and we said, hey, we want to hire as a consultant to teach and train us on all the best practices. They're not focused on just this industry, so we're going to be able to combine our IP, their IP, and say, hey, like, we're just going to try to steal all your secrets, but we're willing to pay a premium for it. And so we've been doing that. And basically, and one of the things that they had told us is, like, if you're spending under 500 or even under $1,000 a month, it's just not enough to move the needle. And then Google needs a certain amount of data to really learn and be effective. And we saw this for ourselves with Facebook. I mean, we'd run, $500 a month, $750 a month or whatever. And then we ramped it up to $5,000 a month for our own stuff. And okay, now we're getting some real data in here. So that's one of the big takeaways is we saw is, hey, you can't just kind of dabble with $200 a month on Google Ads and really expect to see something. But the reframe on it too is like, hey, if you're spending $3,000 a month in click costs, how many projects do you really need to pay for that? And typically for design build, higher margin, let's just say you're 30% margin, and hopefully, I know I'm
fine we're fine with that. It's a good place to start and go from there.
We want to get 35, 40.
Yep.
If you can get higher, but let's just say you're at 30 and your average job size is $100,000. If you're saying, hey, I'm putting this marketing expense into overhead, basically my break even is $30,000.
Yeah.
To land 100. Now, would I want to do that? Would I want to spend 30, do this whole project and come out even? No, I'd probably want to like double my money or something like that. So you could probably spend $15,000 to acquire that type of project. So if you're spending $3,000 a month, like you can pretty much run that for the bulk of the year. And if you get a couple projects, it's probably worth it.
How are you seeing as far as leads from Google Ads? What are you seeing out there?
Little early to tell for me to give you like specifics, but from the notes and snippets of some early campaigns that since we've been working with this guy, quality is up, quantity is up as well. There's a lot of things you have to work on through the whole thing. It's how are the campaigns set up? What are the negative keywords? What are the keywords you're targeting?
Sure.
And then where are we driving them to? It's got to be a really good landing page that we know they're clicking these keywords and coming to this page, and so we want to work on that piece too. But just as a general takeaway, if you're out there kind of spending a few $100 a month and you're not really seeing anything, part of the reason might just be you're not doing enough. Then you would also want to look to how are my campaigns set up.
Sure.
I see a lot of people burn money on home improvement type keywords where they're spending money on windows and doors and stuff, and it's like they do kitchens and baths in addition. So you really got to have your
be sophisticated
keywords and your negative ones. Like, don't show up if people type in these keywords.
Yeah. Well, I think we got a bunch of takeaways there. I think we got some ideas that people may have thought about in the past that are nice and dusted off and fresh now. Some action that's going to take place as a result of our chat. So mission accomplished. And then Spencer, if they wanted to reach out to you and Builder Funnel or talk to you about your services, how would they do that? And also, I think you have a new little service. Why don't you give that a little give that a little plug too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the best way is just go to builderfunnel.com. You can find tons of information if you're wanting to learn more about marketing. If you want to reach out to our team and book a call, you can do that. Super easy. Google us. You'll find us on YouTube, podcasts, wherever.
Better, Mr. SEO guy.
Hey, we try to practice what we
Yep.
preach. But yeah, thanks for asking about the new service. We, depending on the release of maybe a sneak peek for some people or right as it's launching, but we are getting into the website game, and I haven't wanted to because um, I just saw a lot of issues with websites and the way they were done, and focus on design and not all the stuff we've been talking about, right? Leads and
Mm-hmm.
sales, and so we just decided, you know what, let's do it and let's do it different. Let's do it how we would do it for ourselves. And it's going to be performance based and performance over design. And so we've tackled a lot of the problems that we've seen with other, I would say, just web designers as a way to generalize. A lot of web designers are great designers. They don't know anything about SEO. They don't know anything about lead conversion.
Yeah.
And so they design you something that looks great. But even that, design is subjective. You might think it looks great. Somebody else might think it looks great. I might think it doesn't look that good. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters. What it needs to do is communicate who you are. Your brand needs to build trust. It needs to check some of those design boxes, which is like, this is a professional company. But beyond that, it's pretty subjective. And so after that, it's all performance. And so that's how we've built it. We're calling it the foundation, partly
The
because
foundation.
we feel like, yeah,
Good name.
Chef, you do the voiceover.
I mean, I'm a little froggy right now, but I can work on it.
Yeah, I mean, we can give you a couple of days.
Yep.
Hydrate up. But yeah, it really
I'm a very expensive voiceover, by the way.
okay.
At least $10. At
I'll
least
brace
$10.
myself
Yeah, at
the
least
bill.
$10.
But yeah, you kind of teed it up nicely at the beginning by just saying, hey, everything kind of points back to the website, and so we really do view it as the foundation of your marketing efforts, primarily because they see a sign, they hear about you from friends, or they do a Google search or it's social media. Like they ultimately end up on the website, however it started, and so it needs to be rock solid, and then you can really build out from there.
Cool. Something very fresh and new that you're taking on. I think if anybody's followed Spencer for a while or even reached out to you guys in the past, very much focused on search engine optimization, creating that blogging content, the conversion piece of it, stay in touch aspect of it. And this is, if you've reached out to Spencer in the past, this might be another reason to kind of re-engage and go, okay, so you're gonna give me the foundation. That's a good name, by the way.
Oh,
The foundation where the design is solid, but the SEO and the conversion and a lot of that aspect of it is already really pre-designed and ready to rock and systematized. It's an interesting offer.
yeah, I think a good way to just think about it is kind of in the home building space. You wouldn't, if there's like a great floor plan for just the way a certain family lives and operates, you wouldn't say like, oh, well, let's just like move the bathroom right into the middle of the kitchen, or do these funky things. It's like if there's a proven general layout that's just like, this is just works for how we live, like you wouldn't reinvent that, but you can personalize it with flooring and countertops and cabinets and all of those types of things. And that's really kind of what we've tried to do, is say, hey, don't reinvent the performance side. Like these are the pages you need, these are the conversion things you need. This is how SEO should be done. It's lightning fast. Like it shouldn't be bogged down with all these random plugins on WordPress. Okay, now we can, brand it, do all of your project photos.
Now that you've talked some smack about WordPress plugins, I think we're going to wrap this up. Rock and roll, cool.
Just had to get that last.
Yeah, we're throwing shade at Big Chapstick, and we're throwing shade at WordPress.
Well, we're the bad boys of marketing, right?
It was true. That never really took off, did it?
No, we didn't really.
Did you ever wear? You have the shirt though, yeah?
I have the shirt.
Did you ever wear it?
I wore it a couple of times, but I mean, I didn't flash it on social media.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think we were doing a podcast. It was a couple years ago, and it's like we were talking about something, and tongue in cheek, we're like, oh yeah, we're the bad boys of remodeler marketing. And then Bailey created some shirts for us, and yeah, it just doesn't. It's kind of like this guy that and we're gonna wrap up now. It's kind of like this guy up in northern Michigan. There's a lot of singers up there at these different restaurants and whatnot. And there's a guy that we kind of got to know through another contact of ours, and he's called the Dangerous Music Man. And you listen to this guy, and you look at him, and you talk to him, and you hear his music, and there's 0% of him feels dangerous at all. Hey, and I'm so and so, the Dangerous Music Man. I'm like, so it's kind of like the bad boys of marketing. We're like,
Yeah, that's pretty much where we land.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's more like
we're not really bad boys.
kind of like the
Maybe it was a branding problem.
yes.
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I think
There you go.
Ken Griffey Jr. said that.
Hey, OG Seattle Mariner.
That was
Love
actually Wayne Gretzky.
it. Oh, well, sounded good.
All right, thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Kyle.